Hello and welcome, or welcome back to those of you returning. This is the Daily Dharma, and my name's Dina. Thank you so much for joining. Grab a seat by the fire. Help us collectively cleanse and clear our energies as we get ready to hear what's going to be popped out in our hands. Okay, what is this number? Let's see, 50, 65, 6, 7, 8, 68. The underworld. Look at all of those earthworms, the eyes. I guess what I see out of that is Pluto. If any of you know already, I do astrology, and Pluto is highly aspected right now. We have recently seen Pluto go across the threshold into the sign of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius is still taking its time to fully dawn. It'll be later this year before Pluto is finally in Aquarius and has said goodbye to Capricorn for good. But right now, all the personal planets are transiting in that area as well. We have Sun and Moon are going to be coming together at the time of this broadcast. The rest of the information is timeless, and these can be taken timelessly if you want to apply the messages that are conveyed. But we're going to have Sun and Moon together at about 20 degrees in Aquarius, and then Pluto will still be around the 0 degree. And this is happening on the 9th, which is tomorrow for me. And we've got a couple goddess energies at 0 degrees of the previous few signs. We have Pallas Athene that came up, was it yesterday? Just crossed over the threshold from Scorpio into Sagittarius, and Ceres has just crossed over from Sagittarius into the sign of Capricorn. And just behind our Pluto moving into Aquarius, we have Mercury has just taken over the lead from Pluto and passed there, and we have Mars and Venus coming up behind. So at the time of the new moon, Venus will be at about 20 degrees of Capricorn. So those personal planets and the luminaries, Sun and Moon, are all kind of working out the differences right now. How do we activate and actualize the shifts and changes that are forcing our hand in some cases, and in other cases it's where we've let something expire or get old in our lives. There's stagnancy, there's an urge for newness or change or more freedom or something. So, and we've got the Uranus and Jupiter are playing down in the sign of Taurus, the sign of resources and inner fortitude, I want to say. I saw the fortitude card in my head. Let's get going on the cards. The popping cards, okay. We have 8, the Maiden, and I'm not sure about YouTube's information, but in this Vesica Pisces, it does appear that this woman is got a hand on the breast, and then we've got this rose, and then the background of the trees with the darkness. So the Maiden card, interesting, comes out with the ocean. Interesting card. The ocean to me first is popping out as the collective consciousness, the psychic realm, the depths of the ocean. Not many people have looked at the depths of the ocean within or in the collective. So it's bringing up shadow aspects with both. And with the Maiden, the impression here with the pine trees in the background, in this deck, there's a Father card. Maybe we'll see it here. And it's got the pine trees. So something with the Maiden. And yesterday, something I didn't say was some type of, what is the word? Where there's that point where the youth becomes mature, a rite of passage, that's the term I'm thinking of. This Maiden energy seems somehow not objectified, but sensual, the sensual energies reawakening, whether that's through creativity or through some type of self-care or otherwise. Okay, we've got 10, the warrior. That's a beautiful one. And for those of you who have noticed, the name of my enterprise here is Empressive Warrior, the Empress-like warrior. And I enjoy that this depiction here with this rainbow between the horns. And I'm not sure if this really is a cattle or some type of otherwise skull, but it reminds me now of Taurus and how Chiron is the wounded healer. Um, and right now it's in the sign of Aries, but there's something coming through as Jupiter is the father and the warrior, the rebel, the maiden, the coming of age, of the awakening of the depths of the person and the resonance with deeper levels of the collective than perhaps the parents. Something about the parents here. Let's see what else. The village. Yes, the social cues that we also receive as we're forming our own identity. That's, let's see, 1041. It takes me a minute. The father. What did I say? There it is. The father is on the board. And the way that this comes across, warrior, village, father, it's like the father has also been a product of the village. And I'm not saying to tolerate the intolerable, but to gain the perspective of the sage. We rise above the judgment that, and in many cases, yes, it's a fact that people could have done better by us, but sometimes the best medicine that can be given to the child is the shortcomings of the parents and the authority figures, because it gives the child something to press for, to heal from, creating empathy and context and depth. Their connection to the ocean happens through perhaps tears in this case. Blue eyes and brown eyes. Does someone have two different color eyes? Here we have the self. There's that identity that wants to pop out. The self seems to be a product of the village in this case. And it's this this rainbow activation. There's something going on. I'll have to look into the astrology a little bit further, but the next cards, interesting. Okay, so we've got the threshold. Oh, and I'm not calling out the numbers. Let's see, 10, 20, 29 is the card of the self. 2 was the father. This is 45 is the threshold. It's like taking a step into the ocean, the toes in the water. Did I actually say that the other day, or was that just something that I have on my board? Something about dipping the toes in the water. And then we have the seed. So this one is 66, the seed. So it's very simple. It's that little tiny disc, but the rings around it, I don't know if you'll be able to see the detail, but it's a very simple card. But it reminds me of vibration and frequency, and how the seed can be so vastly significant. It seems like what we're talking about now is the correct vibrational frequency that has been activated within the self, where there's this critical turning point, this threshold where there's been, whether it's possibly psychic realm stuff or your personal activation, whatever you're advocating for or working within the village to create here, you're stepping into your own kingly nature, whether you're masculine, feminine, or somewhere along that spectrum. The father card exists within all of us as the aspect of self who's ready to take accountability for self, and therefore the seed becomes activated. The threshold is surpassed because once we've encountered the self, nothing else can stand in our way. There is no fear greater than perhaps encountering that darkness and understanding how other people's darkness deserves to be liberated from our energy field is potentially part of this. I'm drawn to the ring. So, okay, two things here. The seed here is shown as the seed within the self. I'm not sure I got to that point. The seed is ultimate potential activated within the core of the self, which then becomes broadcast as your own frequency. It's the mirror that you become for others. And it's almost like this is contained and emanated from the crown. It's the connection from the crown. And because it's a skull, it may symbolize the dark night of the soul, the death of the previous, the innocence. And so the other thing was the ring within the forehead here. There's the 11s on the counter. The ring on the third eye of this death process is almost like this individual's hand is laying down this ring, which to me in the moment, it sometimes appears as the crown of thorns, as many of us understand that depiction, being laid to rest. It was somehow there's been this mountain that has been surpassed, and now this previous crown of thorns is removed and laid to rest, buried in the soil. And because we have the soil, the ocean, and the seed, I'm seeing also the need to water things, because the underworld here, okay, so that brings it all around. Pluto is the thief of Persephone. He kidnaps Persephone and takes her into the underworld, and we can only imagine what goes on there. And so for many, this is part of the painful process, the abandonment of the father figure. But ultimately, we recognize that to enable our own self to step into our father role, we have to admit that the father, the responsibility also takes the father outside of the expectations that we would, for instance, hold for the nurturer and the mother of the dynamic, which is very patriarchal and expectant of roles. And so that's coming into being the duality, the 2 card being the father in this deck. There's something about his obligation blinding him to being accountable to the family and to more accountable to the village than to the maiden, which enables her to somehow fall into the underworld. Maybe this was part of the rebellion. There are probably individuals watching that have struggled with things like drugs and other types of negative influences, let's say, things that can be devilish energy that tries to distract us from awakening. But having crawled to those depths of the underworld, there's a lot of fertility in the aura that's being activated here. It's part of the sacred work. You can't make it up. There's the alchemy card from yesterday. For those of you that were here, perhaps you really are the alchemist. Under the deck, we have 9, allowance. So that's a beautiful progression. The 8 card and the 9 card here. I hear the birds in the pole barn side here. Allowance is about surrender, allowing the flow to move through you, not resisting the flow of what needs to happen, whether certain things such as addictions or lower vibrational thought forms that are interfering with your self identity or your connection to the people that are important, the groups that are important in your world, whether it's blocking your connection to your psychic elements. There's, for some, a fear of encountering the depths of self, or a fear of showing the self to others, or of judgment, negative attention. That one comes up a lot. But there's definite alchemy at work within this alchemical self. So the frequency of allowance invites us to be open to whatever comes our way, without judgment, without opinion, without fear, and without resistance. When we allow, the universe becomes our partner in the wondrous dance of existence and expansion. Okay. Romantic love. That's a beautiful rose in bloom in my mind right now. Reminding me of this maiden card. It's there's something here about the inner child. There has been untouched depths of self that were perhaps shut away and protected by spirit, God, divine, by your higher self, by circumstance. There's been a protection at play, and there's a new activation. And perhaps this is a little bit surprising for yourself, but there's potential for romantic love here on the table, clearly from the depths of all that has been sad and all of the pain and suffering that has shown itself through self and others. This context, there's hope here on the deck, whether this is a situation you were already in or not. I was also getting earlier that for some of you, perhaps there's a difference between people here with the maiden and the warrior. The warrior can definitely come through with a more masculine energy, especially with this father card. But yeah, whether you're the masculine or the feminine, we're definitely talking about the vulnerable inner self that has been subjected to various experiences and is now activated. There's a seed being vibrationally activated. So something about seismic, earthquake energy. I was seeing fault line when I shuffled these cards. It was on the bottom for quite a while, which is like that, the fault lines in the earth. Something about the tectonic plates and the vibrations that of certain frequency music, for instance, that orient the molecules into some type of either sacred geometrical wheel or just a huge mess. Does it disrupt us, or does it set us into alignment? So maybe you could benefit from some self-care with some intentionally designed music with the right frequency and the right intention set behind it. Some type of chakra music with all the colors, perhaps. So 13, coherence. So understanding how romantic love, how both we foster it in our life, in ourself, and how we set up borders and boundaries against it. If we're going to build a wall, make sure to build windows and doors into the wall. And I'm hearing people that are very guarded with their energy. If you envision these things and setting up protective layers on an energetic level, you can set your gateway sentry energies to recognize energies before they encounter your own, before they can access your own. That's a message for somebody. It seems like a bit of a tangent, but we'll leave that there. So allowance in romantic love, there's alchemy at play here as you shift the ability to connect and understand between the partners is elevated here. And coherence being the 13 card, that is the death card in the tarot. So it's kind of telling me that through maybe the death of the ego, an ego death, that dark night of the soul, having traversed some type of situation has elevated your potential to show up in relationships differently. Treasures hidden in the shadows. Okay, right. So this is the activation, the underworld. So will o' the wisp, signs and synchronicities and sparkly little things that come to our attention, and I can't help but seeing what's underneath. This caterpillar energy is very camouflaged energy. It has little eyes all along this. It's like building of the self that spirals upon itself. It reminds me of DNA that's been masked, that's been glammed up, that's showing itself through a persona or a facade. But the eyes are deep, mysterious, and there's an ocean in the eyes. It's a number 4. So maybe cat energy is important in your makeup. But Will o' the Wisp here, 62, is talking about being able to look back with deeper context and perspective upon the situations, and to be able to find the gems, the treasures, the pearl inside the oyster. You know, that friction with the sand creates the gem. The friction creates the exponential growth and beauty. There's all of these rainbow emanations from self here with this newfound understanding of how you can shift and change. Stranger, curiosity. You've attracted someone's attention, perhaps even. So this reminds me of that warrior energy. He is shown here very mysterious. He's got those same mysterious eyes that are the caterpillar and that are in this will o' the wisp. It's very deep masked, like the sparkle in the eyes is unmistakable. And it reminds me of someone that I know that keeps very much to themselves. And I'm seeing the pine trees in the background as well. So I don't know if this person is a father or has some type of fatherly energy, warrior energy, angelic energy. You be the judge there. But it almost looks like this person. Have you ever done sparklers, those little metal wands that you light on fire and they spark all over the place? And as children, we would zip them through the air and, for instance, make a figure 8. And because of the luminosity that's left behind, the impact and the fast movement, our eyes capture the light at all of those points and see the figure 8, even though the wand is only at one point or another. There's our 22s. So that's somehow like this person has, perhaps you or them has made some type of impression that you're connecting the dots, and you or they are assisting each other with making some type of context more whole, if that makes sense to you. The sun. This is an interesting Sphinx-like sun energy to me, again with that downward gaze. It's, to me, this sun energy is like a god or elemental energy that is maybe Aztec or Egyptian or something like this, where they're almost guarding a threshold. Their wing is up on the one side, almost guarding a gateway here, but the sun is coming through this mask. It's like the eyes are the witness, the ocean is behind the eyes. Even though there's a mask, the mask is revealing the eyes and the soul is left in the eyes. I don't know why we're going through this, but It must all be relevant if it's coming out. Galactic Mushroom 24. This reminds me of yesterday's blue Terra emerging from the Lotus, but this one is almost like the Galactic Mushroom, the Divine Matrix. This does remind me of the reference to drugs earlier, whether this person does some type of shamanic thing or has gotten involved in things that started to eclipse their values. I'm not sure. But it seems like this person is rising above, and almost there's this volcanic, but is so slowed down, like a frame by frame almost release of a volcanic pressure, whatever that means. And this green energy is interesting. It talks to me about not only the heart, but something otherworldly, something with extreme slimy gas. Is that does that make sense? It's almost like poison ivy. Maybe it's just a little Batman reference. She has all of that temptation and allure and has the poisonous kiss. And it's as though this individual here, shown in the galactic mushroom, is that's part of their experience, and they're emerging out of this too, but it's still part of their protective heart space. A journey, the journey, healing journey, 29. This person's shown up with fox energy, some type of bird energy here on the side, and also owl. I don't know if that's a snowy owl or a barred owl, but the there's an emergence. This appears to be the individual from the galactic mushroom here. So this may be the self. It's almost as if the back is turned to the sun, perhaps looking at this moon energy. I feel somewhat that I'm losing the plot, and I'm not sure where that feeling comes, but let's go ahead and not draw this out. It seems that either you are understanding this in the context of your own life, or maybe this is part of a deeper message, but it's like I'm struggling here to say, like, so what is the punchline? What are we talking about? Sound, the fierce flute is definitely about making a declaration of a new value system or a new boundary or your standards or expectations. It's someone who has already been wronged and now has a new threshold and tolerance for what's acceptable and what is not in their own life. So maybe you make a declaration against some type of addiction or toxic partnership, or awareness of the inner depths of your own shadow and what you need in your life to feel happy and healthy and whole. And Krishna, the two-headed warrior masculine with this deep fire behind, he has 4 hands, 2 heads. Not sure what else is going on with him, but blue gemstone at the 3rd eye. He seems incredibly aware, but to me, I'm getting the feeling of the emasculated son of the militant father dynamic. And whether you're male or female, this could also be playing out in your own situation. I do want to figure out what the book says about this one. 41 seems like it was already here on the table, but perhaps not. Maybe above. Let's see. Because yesterday's was incredible. I wish I had read part of it on. So there's a spiritual intelligence within your soul. It's the genius of becoming, of ripening from potential, the seed, right, into glorious manifestation, which is this illuminated self. Intimate communion with your own heart will reveal what is true, what it is you truly yearn for, and then set that process in motion for that yearning to be satisfied. So Pluto, the underworld, is really trying to convey what it is we need in partnership, how we need to show up, how we need to commit to our standards and be loyal to our own heart here, and be self-protective, be the protective father figure in our own lives. And sometimes that needs to be take a break or be vulnerable, correct? With that militant father of the patriarchal socialization here. The holy fire is Kali, and she's within your soul. Follow that yearning, seek the light. Let yourself burn bright for what inspires you, and you shall see the path to fruition clearly before you. Believe in what is meant to be. So perhaps that is, in a nutshell, what we're talking about. And I could continue to read that. The book is incredible for rounding out the understanding, but it seems like what we're also talking about is the ability to have faith in the relationship, to have faith in our beauty and desirability and our whatever it else might be in your world. Whether you think that you should or would or could be smarter or bigger, better, faster, more, however that's showing up, there's some type of recognize that the seed is always still in process within the self. And as we clear away things from the underbelly of the shadow, we can see what things still hold value for us. Maybe there's things hidden there that with the proper nurturance can become parts of our identity that are incredibly illuminating and incredibly uplifting and part of our ultimate destiny that we've been avoiding maybe. So yeah, yesterday's was about letting go of the debris, and today is about stepping it up and actually putting those, acknowledging the hopes and plans and loves and fears, and surpassing that judgment level to get those treasures out of the underworld and back into your bank account, perhaps, or into your heart. So take care of you, and hope to be back again tomorrow. Thank you so much, guys.